Hello, sea lions and dolphins. Welcome to your literacy lesson for today. We are continuing our work on newspaper reports today. I know you've been working on your headlines and you've been working on the 5 W's. So today we are going to move on to quotes. So you should be able to see my screen now. So as it says there, we're going to do quotes today. We're going to find out what a quote is, how and when they should be used, and why we should use them. Obviously, the kind of questions we've been asking about the 5 W's about headlines, and in both cases, it is really important to know why we use them as well as how. So what is a quote? So it does depend whether you're using the verb or the noun. So the one at the bottom here is the noun, and the one at the top is a verb. So remember, a verb is a doing word, and a noun is a thing, place, or person. So if you're using it as a verb, it's to repeat or copy out written or spoken word by another person. It has some similes here: recite, repeat, reproduce, restate, retell, and echo. And this is really what you're doing in a newspaper report. In a newspaper report, when you quote someone, you're retelling what they, or repeating what they said to you. So you'll be the newspaper reporter, you'll be at the scene of the alien invasion where the spacebat angel dragons come down, and you'll say to someone, oh, what did you see? And they'll say, I saw this amazing monster crash down, dust went everywhere and everyone fell over and all this kind of thing. And then you'll put that into a newspaper, and that's you quoting what they've said. The noun is a thing, so it's a quotation from a text or speech. So that's when you quote someone on what they're saying from something like a speech, like a leader of a country might do. You might quote their speech. So why should we use them? Well, we use quotes to give extra detail to our reports and also to make them more accurate. So we said about the headline being the thing that grabs your attention. And we said about the 5 W's being the thing that fills out your newspaper report and gives details. Well, quotes also help add detail, but they also help make them accurate. Because as I said at the bottom here, if you heard that aliens landed on Earth and 2 different people told you the story, who would you believe? Would you believe your friend? Who is your friend? You know them well, you trust them. Your friend who said his friend had told him at the park. So the spacebat angel dragon lands in Australia, starts destroying everything. And your friend in England tells you at your house that his friend at the park in England told him about the spacebat angel dragon. Or you're going to believe a woman who had been an eyewitness to the event. That means they saw the event take place. They've seen the spacebat angel dragon. Maybe they're in Australia and now they've run away to another country. And you talk to them, or you listen to them on the TV. Or in this case, you see their quote from what they said in a newspaper. You're obviously going to believe the latter, which is the second one. And that says a lot, considering the other one is your friend, someone you trust, but you're still going to believe the woman more because they actually saw what happened. So they're not listening to someone else. They didn't listen to someone else and mishear what they said and then get it wrong. They saw it with their own eyes. They were there. So that's why eyewitnesses and quotes are really important in newspapers. So examples of quotes. So we've got a set of examples here. We've got 5. What is this? Have you ever seen anything like it? So that's the question one. The alien swooped down and attacked us. So that's also someone talking about the attack who was there. I shouted to everyone to run for their lives. Again, someone who was obviously there at the time. I saw the attack on the news. It was terrifying. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's a quote, but that person's only saying they saw it on the news. So again, although the news is generally reliable, again, it does depend. Do you fully trust what the news says all the time? Or would you prefer the person, as I said, to have actually been there? I was on a nice walk when the sun was eclipsed by a giant beast. So the ones we're probably going to believe the most are this one here, and this one here, because they are all people who were eyewitnesses, people that were there. This one and this one are quotes, but they're from people who have seen it on the news or read about it, or seen a picture. And so again, they're not quite as reliable generally. As a general rule, it's not always the case because they weren't there at the time. The key thing to take from this slide, apart from, like I say, the different examples and who was an eyewitness and who wasn't, the other thing to take from it is if you notice that there's speech marks or inverted commas around it. So when you're quoting someone, you're quoting what they said, and therefore it is speech. So it's something you really need to remember, that it's actually speech. and that's why the inverted commas and speech marks are there. So the rules apply just like speech, just like when you're doing speech in your writing. It applies exactly the same. So it hugs everything that's being said, and it has punctuation inside it. So when to use quotes? So quotes are also used in newspaper reports all the time, as we've mentioned earlier, and they can be used multiple times. You don't want to have loads of them, but if you've got a good A4 page newspaper report, it's okay to have 2 or 3 of them. You don't have to worry about having, you can only have 1 or something like that. You can have 2 or 3, and that is absolutely fine. So a writer will normally set the scene for the story in the first paragraph, and then start to include quotes from eyewitnesses in the second paragraph and onwards. So in the first paragraph, you usually have your headline, then your first paragraph is the 5 Ws, and then your third, fourth, fifth paragraph adds more details, and this is where quotes start to come in. So that's when you should really be looking to use them, the second paragraph and onwards. Well, that brings us to your task for today. So today you need to write 2 paragraphs that report on the army of the world fighting the Spacebat Angel Dragon. Now, if you haven't kept up with the story, that's okay. Go onto YouTube. There's a link on the Monday Sway, but if not, go onto the YouTube and look for chapter 4 of the Iron Man, and you can listen to the story there. So the Spacebat Angel Dragon has landed and the army of the world is fighting it. And you need to write 2 paragraphs as a newspaper report, and these should include at least 2 quotes from eyewitnesses in the second paragraph. So what I'd like you to write really is a headline for the world fighting the Spacebat Angel Dragon, a paragraph with the 5 Ws telling everyone about it, and then another paragraph that adds a bit more detail and has a couple of quotes from eyewitnesses. And you say who they are. They say, so, I talked to Sally, who was in the Australian city, Melbourne, when the Spacebat Angel Dragon landed, and she said, and then you put in what she says. And I also talked to Bob, who was in Sydney at the time. This is what he said. You say what he says, and then you talk about what they said and what that tells us about the story. So that's your test day. As always, we'd love to see your work. If you want to send it to us, that would be lovely. And we're always looking forward to that. And also, if you have any problems, of course, you can email us or message us as well. So I hope it all goes well for you, and I hope you have a good day, and I will talk to you during maths.